my last company was 130 people. I just started a solo founded startup. Do you think this $1 billion solo founder thing is possible? Like
no.
Or like,
but I think 10 people might found a $1 billion company.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of like too, right?
But I think it is possible. The hubris in it that we're seeing is that the world's so competitive. So I do believe in categories that are somewhat static, where you can have a step function and they're not brutally competitive like Replit and Lovable. I think 10 people with AI that requires limited customer support, limited enterprise, probably can do it. There may be some contractors and agencies behind. It's a little bit of an asterisk and dagger pretend, but I do believe it's possible. And we're 3 people doing 8 figures here. So it's like, is 3 people doing 8 figures? Can 10 people do 9 figures and be worth $1 billion? Of course. But I think the hubris in it is that if you're in an ultra competitive space, the demand for engineers and everything is higher than ever. So you're not going to be able to hack it in a competitive space. So that's the asterisk and dagger. So I just think people over-indexed on this idea, and it's romantic, but find an industry where nothing changes in 10 years.
Yeah, it's high leverage, right? We can be high leverage now, not necessarily a single point of failure. But yeah, awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, okay, good.
Love the event.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, who knows what it's like in 18 months as well, right?
Do you have any hot takes?
So a whole bunch of those vendors and talks seem to be about like enterprise, vague terms of like data and AI. It was kind of segmented. It was like early stage, like Lovable, Replits, like vibe coding stuff, and then this big gap right up to enterprise, how do enterprises incorporate data.
The vague enterprise at all. Even like Replit was trying to do that enterprise kind of level, whatever that actually means. I don't really know. If that's just internal tooling or whatever. We're gonna go. One not very overarching view is that vibe coding does not work as a live demo. I saw.
You see more of them fail.
2 of them where they're just sitting up there going, oh, just hold on, it'll be just 1 more minute. Yep, no, that should, oh no, it's an error. Let me just cut and paste this error back into the chat. Okay, yep. Oh no, it's failed again. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I was glad to see many other products trying to do demos where you spend a lot of time waiting for things to load, which is what I also spend a lot of time being like, this content is generating, this thing is happening, I swear. It's not just a me problem. It's demos in the AI world.
I'll give it a little bit of background. So, like, long story short, in mid-2024, I would say we had like an existential risk issue at Plerion, right? So for a bit of context, Plerion really was like, came to market as a cloud security offering for, people running in hyperscalers like AWS, Azure, and GCP to basically give them like, a much better security offering to help them manage security risks in the cloud. And really that market is quite mature, right? There's a lot of players, there's a lot of people raising a lot of money. We raised a $10 million seed round, and what we found in sort of mid-2024 is we weren't feeling very confident about the long-term future of the company, right? Like, ultimately what we were seeing is that there was nothing really differentiated. What we needed to build was like a really big, complex platform. We needed a lot of people to build it. And so we made this intentional pivot in about September 2024. It was pretty early on, but I mean, all the ChatGPT stuff was 2023, but it didn't really didn't really make a lot of noise in 24, and then obviously in 25 it became a lot more mainstream. But we made that pivot early, right? So we came to market with a pretty good functional agentic story in early 2025. Yeah. And what ended up happening was that we were just way earlier to the market than everyone else in our category, right? So that existential risk kind of somewhat went away in 2025 because we were able to nail that experience of delivering an agentic story for our security platform. Mm-hmm. So in Q3 and Q4 last year, I would say no one really had this in our category. I can't comment on other categories, but in Q1 it became, let's just call it less interesting, right? Because now everyone kind of says, oh yeah, that's your chatbot, right?
Yeah. Well, you drive down the freeway and you see like every billboard, every second billboard's like agentic.
So like if you don't have, let's call it a chatbot, you're obviously not in the game at all, right? But I think what happens is these customers are able to work out relatively quickly
how thin that is.
Yeah, how thin that layer is and how important it is to the North Star of your product. And I think that's, again,
what are the like tangible things that like...
Well, I think the main thing that our customers are looking for is like proper end-to-end intelligent workflows, right? Like, I mean, and I don't even think we finished this yet. Like, we're still kind of in the early throes of hanging that together. But in security, the most common thread for us is that pretty much every customer I've ever sold to has never had too many security people, right? They are typically security resource poor and resource constrained. So as a result, the agentic story is interesting because it augments an existing team member who doesn't have a lot of time for security, but has all the responsibility of security.
Do you feel like there's a bit of a trend in SaaS at the moment, or selling of software, that it's like you sell the outcome as opposed to selling a platform? And like so many of the competitors in the space are visibility, right? It's like, here is all your problems, here's everything which is going wrong in your systems. Do you feel like Plerion's on the journey to selling the outcome as opposed to being a platform?
And have been for a while, So if you kind of think of where the whole narrative is now is all about augmenting your team and saving time, but underneath the hood is like a security operations story, right? So if you think about the way we're kind of positioning the product in the field is all about, hey, we're not talking about features and widgets and I think that's the thing that it gets me excited.
I'm fixing stuff.
I think that's the most exciting thing for me, having been in this space for 10 years and like been in software for a long time, is the agentic story is real because it actually helps folks like ourselves get so much closer to the outcome, right? And it's it's real. Like I can actually feel us being able to genuinely tell the customer the amount of ROI we've delivered, whereas in maybe a traditional SaaS world, it's much harder to actually kind of map that ROI,
You've
right?
identified all these things for you, but you still have to go and do the work.
But I think you still need to deliver something of high quality that can scale, it's secure, it's enterprise ready, and I think that's hard to do, right? And there's a lot of evidence it's hard to do.
You got Plerion working for customers, and customers are interacting with it. But the customers have their agents now on their side interacting with Plerion?
Of course. So now all the noise is about you need to be able to have interoperability and extensibility, right? So right now people are going, oh, well, where's your MCP? Where's your CLI? Where's your, so as you kind of maybe are reading what everyone's talking about probably this week at SaaStr, is like, it needs to be able to interact with everything. So for example, we talk to a lot of like cloud consulting partners that like they will not talk to us without our MCP that is able to allow various agents to push work to our agent.
What are you seeing on the ground in terms of expectations in regards to like US customers versus ones back in Oceania?
Oh, I just think they're a lot more demanding, right? They are expecting this innovation to be there.
Yeah.
Like really where the story is now is that they need this to be effortless, right? Like they want security operations to be effortless, see the whole thing go from soup to nuts, done in a high fidelity way. So that's the expectation. But I would also suggest there's a bit of a I don't know if people know this, but a lot of American customers are miles behind. Miles behind, right? So there's no real difference in the markets. I think where the difference is that the leaders here.
No,
I don't think it's unique to America.
Everyone is actually quite far behind in AI.
I would say 95%. I mean, if you listen to any of the content maybe coming out of the event this week, 95% of the market isn't really using it properly, and if they are, they're just fiddling around with it.
I was kind of surprised when you said earlier on that your like existential moment was in 2024. It's like,
well, I think we just saw it, right?
Exactly.
I think we just saw it. I don't think we were existential at that moment, but you could smell that if we didn't come up with a different way to answer the problem, we would be dead.
Yeah.
But I think it's still a very dynamic market. I think this is a really important note right now, because when we built companies in the past, you might reinvent that business every 9 to 12 months. The story might change, the technology will evolve. And I'm not joking here, we're probably every 4 to 6 weeks now. Like because now, why? Because the speed of development is so much faster. I'm now able to get a feature or a product out in 4 to 6 weeks versus 6 to 12 months, right? So like if you kind of think about the conversations we're typically having, and we speak a lot, is just the speed of like, it sounds simple, but to adjust your messaging sounds quite easy. It's not. It takes time, right? Like we've had to kind of evolve the way we do development. Like that's resulted in changes in the team, and we have to move quickly, or we're not going to be able to keep up with where the market is. And the other thing is, our competitors are raising way more than we are, right? So you actually kind of are forced to operate at a much higher level than they potentially are across your business, because you don't have the luxury of potentially wasting a few $1 million getting a few things wrong.
How are you finding that dynamic as in being in the room with direct competitors who have 10 times the money that you have?
I think at the end of the day, the biggest issue we have is that people don't know who we are, right? So you don't have any of that brand credibility. In America is a place where they like to use a lot of names, right? So, who did you work for? Who are you using? What product? And they tend to like the market leaders, right? So you're always up against that brand. If you, especially, and a lot of the New Zealand and Australian companies will suffer from this, right? It's just being able to be like, who are you? No, I never heard of you. You've never been in any sort of content. You've not crossed my desk. Product looks good, but
and there's
who are you?
That brand thing is so much easier to do when you have tons of cash. Like there was
of course, well, you actually do need it.
One of the companies at SaaStr, that Monaco, which was like,
of course, Monaco.
They paid a plane to fly around SaaStr for 3 days, and with a banner dragging behind it, and it's like
standard in our industry.
Yeah, totally.
It's exactly
but
the same.
A company from Australia or New Zealand who has just much less funding.
Well, frankly, they also didn't have the mindset to do that, right? Like I don't particularly want to raise 100 and then spend 50 on like marketing and planes, but I can tell you that the playbook does work.
Yeah, totally.
The playbook actually works. So in our industry, the way it typically works is you come out of the gates with an obnoxiously large pre-seed round, like the ones that I've seen. The biggest one I just saw was a 200 million pre-product, pre-revenue.
Yeah.
Right? To attack the AI security market, and you just wash the market with your message.
So we're going to see you flying a plane around on top of SaaStr
Absolutely
next year?
not, but I do dream about doing that.
You can next year, SaaStr, man.
Billboards on the San Francisco 101. That's what the plan is.
All right.
Cheers.
We've known each other for a little while, and the kind of things I know about you are, one, you literally wrote a book on subscription pricing, and like you kind of have a deep understanding of the subscription pricing model. And there's a bit of a trend now with people moving away from pure like fixed price subscription models into maybe like consumption-based pricing. I guess the other things I loosely know is that you have a Negaris, which is like a product for accounting, like a traditional product, and you also have a services accountancy firm as well, like Plerion, I think.
Yeah.
It's like that's a cool intersection of like several different trends where you've got like a product company, a services company, and a deep understanding of like subscription pricing. And so like keen to get you on, like, how do you think the market's moving?
It's really interesting, yeah. And if you kind of take it full circle, so accounting firms used to be like legal firms. So they do time and billing, so they're charged by the hour. Then they started to move to fixed fee. That was kind of the next evolution of it. That did pretty well. Now a lot of them are moving to subscription. Whereas in a lot of industries, it's the opposite. You used to pay subscription, but now you'll pay per unit or per usage.
There's a lot of noise about we're going to have these services firms which are like super AI enabled, and the margins are going to like massively increase, and it's going to be, it's a new dawn of like services businesses. You're running both a product business doing accountancy, right? And you're running like a services business doing accountancy. Do you think you're going to be kind of merging those two? Like, do you see those as being like becoming more and more close?
So what we've decided to do is to just run them both and just see where it gets to. So there's a lot of synergy between the businesses, don't get me wrong, but we've got 35 firms that actually pay for the software that we built as well. So it is quite valuable for the market, and that's only after 6 months of being in market with the product. So I think at this stage we're going to keep running it, but you just never know what happens in the future.
And even if you don't sort of combine the two, the product going into the services, do you see the services side of things? How are you rolling AI into what you do on the services front?
So the services front is just almost an unlimited kind of backlog of what you can do with AI. We're really leaning in on the stuff that's the high kind of frequency stuff. But there's it's almost unlimited what you could build. It's quite exciting.
Are you seeing competitors who are more like pure product AI plays like being a threat to the services side of the business?
Even historically, there's always like kind of firms like H&R Block that would do a tax return for $50. So I think there's always been the low end of the market where it's a very simple return and you just go and do it cheap. Most accounting firms, like most of the ones that I work with, they normally want to go after the small and medium business segment. So they don't really want to do too many just pure play individual returns, because they can be done by H&R Block very efficiently and very inexpensively, or software. You know, and so, but at that medium kind of business segment, sure, like if you could do it on one click, that's great. But still, they want to have a chat to you and say, hey, you know, I'm looking at getting a new company vehicle. Should I buy it or should I lease it? Do I have enough money to buy it? You know, can I hire this next staff member?
Yeah.
You know, is my wages bill too high? Like, so they want to know stuff like that. And yeah, they can click a button and ask Claude, but they just want to. They do want to talk to someone and get a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
A lot of it's almost like therapeutic in a way.
Yeah. But do you think AI gets to that point where it's like it's therapeutic enough for people, or they have enough trust in the advice that AI is giving that they're willing to be like, okay, this is fine. I talked to the agent in my accountancy platform, and that was good enough for me.
Yeah, and they might. The challenge is like because of the hallucinations. If it goes and tells you, hey, you should go borrow $1 million, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, and then let's say you get it, the terms are terrible. You know, like it's a 12-month loan and you've got to pay it back, but you won't be able to pay it back. But AI told you it was all fine because it didn't really understand your business that well. That's a pretty material mistake. Yeah, at the bigger end. If you want a $5,000 personal loan, maybe it's not that big a deal. So it's very interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I think we're a bit of way off, but
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows?
I guess it's one of those high stakes things, right? Where it's like, it is high stakes. It's, you see sort of verticals like software engineering being like kind of rapidly taken over by agents and by, you know, Claude codes, codexes, because the stakes are relatively low, right? It's code, you throw it away if it's not good. It's easily verifiable, but you know, it's accountancy, it's like money,
It's
you get
money,
sued, the government can come
yeah,
after you.
it's audits, it's all that stuff. And in accountancy, you can't get, like, you know, 99.9% is not right. Yeah, so it's got to be really correct.
Yeah, so like that human in the loop that like owns the advice, but also kind of backs it up. It's like accountability. You can't outsource accountability to
No,
the
you
AI.
can't. You can't. So it's a bit of a tricky one.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see where it gets to.
I'm heading out soon, so we get in and out, we'll head out, as is tradition.
Did we do this whole thing for the pun?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to place. Also, we're in California, so you got to get in and out. But yeah, how's your San Francisco been? How's your SaaStr been?
It's pretty good. I think I'm a little bit wary of giving too many hot takes in this AI world where everything changes week to week. So just maybe the takeaway is not some sort of, you know, like this type of content that's all about like 50 sound bites, right? Maybe there is no real soundbite for this. It's just we get some interesting people building some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that's enough.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like we're doing the same. I think, as you said before, we've got the same Claude Code subscriptions. We're all like building stuff in a cool way. It's just amplified here. It's just like the billboards all have agentic on them. The buses are all about AI. It's just like turned up to 11 in terms of everything.
It's America. Everything's bigger.
Yeah, politically, AI is bigger here. But yeah, we're all doing the same stuff. Yeah. Cheers.